PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PCN. We have a great show for you tonight. On this episode, we'll be taking a look at the renovations at the Plymouth Post Office rededication.
We hear how Papa's Pets in Manomet gives back, and we meet the new COA director for the town of Kingston.
We hear about the hard work that goes into being a champion at Thurston Academy of Martial Arts, and Doctor's Orders with BID Plymouth highlights National Blood Donor Month.
Julie McGoff is on set to talk about prevalent HR issues and how to handle them. But we start the show in Duxbury. The Credit for Life concept is one that has taken off with the high schools all over. It's a great chance for high school-aged children to learn the intricacies of balancing a monthly budget. Duxbury High School recently hosted the event for the third year in a row, and so far each year has seen a dramatic increase in student participation. We spoke with a math supervisor from Duxbury's Public Schools to get her take on this blossoming endeavor.
This is Duxbury High School's third annual Credit for Life Financial Literacy Fair. It's an event that we put on for the senior class. We started the fair 3 years ago with just a small handful of kids, and since then, this is now our second year in a row where we've expanded the fair to include the entire senior class, and we include the Financial Literacy Fair experience. And we also include a couple of workshops for kids to get kind of a deeper dive in what financial literacy is all about and how to plan for their financial future. In this room, we have about 14 booths around the room. Each of the booths is a different purchase that kids have to make. Kids start off in the morning. They get a career and a monthly salary. And then when they come over to the fair, they have to visit the car loan booth and the car dealership. They have to purchase a vehicle, get insurance for the vehicle, get financing for the vehicle. And really the goal in the fair is to take their take-home pay and balance their monthly budget with all of the regular monthly expenses that you would expect as an adult, to give kids kind of just a crash course on what adulting is going to look like. For me, this is kind of my math teacher's soapbox moment, where, for the decade that I was in the classroom full time, I always got that question, where are we ever going to use this in real life? And this fair is really that answer. So I enjoy it because it really is that opportunity to expose kids to the real world math that they are going to need. And one of the things that I think the kids really come out of this fair with is, if they understand how compound interest works, they can make it work in their favor. So there's really a lot of value to what we talk about in our high school math courses, because they know now that compound interest actually means a lot in real life. So hopefully they go back to class a little bit more committed to pre-calculus.
The Plymouth Center Post Office has been located at Post Office Square on Main Street since 1914. Under the ownership of 1620 Capital, the building underwent a full renovation, adding accessible entrances, apartments to the upper floors, and moving the post office from the back of the building to the front. The Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce, along with the United States Postal Service, held a stamp unveil of its new History of Hockey stamp with the Plymouth South hockey team and an official ribbon-cutting ceremony.
We're excited to be here today. This is an event with the Postal Service to celebrate their official move within the building into their new space. They were the primary occupant of the building. The building is Post Office Square. We've just come up with this theme, we call it Rebuilding America, in our marketing, and we thought what better way to to live out our theme and then in America's hometown here in Plymouth. So we decided to jump into this project. From the exterior, it looks very much the same as it did in 1914 when the doors first opened. But then when you come inside the building, total reconfiguration, an introduction of new uses with residential on the upper floors. And so you'll see a new layout, and you'll see a mixture of original materials reintroduced with new. These town centers are really the lifeline of a community. So, having a building here at the intersection of Main Street and Leiden Street, the first street in America, to just really bring back some buzz and bring back some life to the town center, I think is vital.
Plymouth Center Station was the post office for Plymouth roughly from 1914 until the late 60s, early 70s, when our building was moved to Long Pond Road. Now, even though most of the operations, such as the carriers and the sortation, went to Long Pond Road, this building was maintained. Sometime in the early 80s, the Postal Service sold the building to private contractors. So, but we maintained a spot in this building right to present day. Now, approximately 3 years ago, the current owners, the Vascatatis Group, bought this building and decided to renovate it. They've done a terrific job and maintained. Now we have a nice spot right in the front of the building. When the previous spot that we were actually in the back, kind of a dungy little place, and but no longer. We're in the front. All these this great old hall that we're in right now, marble walls, all that were the original from the original building in 1914.
We've always maintained a retail presence here, so the customers in the community have an outlet and an opportunity to come in and purchase stamps and postal products. So along the course of the Postal Service's progression over the last few years, anytime we can remain in the community, in the downtown presence, that's great for us and for the customers. So it's been a great opportunity to stay here and remain here.
1, 2, 3.
Who rescued who? We stopped into Papa's Pets before the new year to see how this little store in Manomet gives back. Take a look.
We're raising money for the Cat Adoption Center. We're hoping to raise enough funds to complete our isolation room. Completing that will allow Papa's Pets Project to care for cats on site, which will drastically cut the cost of having to go to the vet and stuff. So we're really hoping by the end of the holiday season have enough money to complete that project. So what we're doing today to raise money is we have people coming out. They can take holiday photos with Santa. I myself and a couple volunteers will be doing nail trimming for dogs. Everything, there's like a suggested donation for participation, and all of that will go directly to finishing that isolation room. Sometimes we have raffles going, but it's the holiday season, so we figured that was like a little too crazy to have going on today. But I just kind of help organize, help get the ball rolling. I do nail clipping through my business, so I donate all my time and services to be able to do that for the dogs and everything. I've got like over 10 years of experienced animal care and all that good stuff. I just have had a lot of people help me get my business off the ground, and I just feel like everybody has a duty to give back to their community. This is what I personally can do. I think that in any line of work that someone's doing, they can take a specific aspect of that job and use it to give back to their community. Like, this doesn't really cost me anything to do. So why not do it? You know what I mean? If I can help out, why not help out? And I have adopted all of the animals that I own, so I just think that it's really important to support that kind of thing in our community because there are so many animals that need homes.
I opened Papa's Pet Supply Store to help fund our animal rescue. The net proceeds from the sales at Papa's Pet Supply Store go back to the animals. Any donations and any fundraisers that we have, 100% of those donations go into the medical fund to help pay the medical bills for the animals that we rescue. This has been a dream of mine for a long, long time, and the goal was not to just do an animal rescue, which I've been doing since 2009. It was to establish the pet supply store so that I could fund the animal rescue in a good way. So it's a win for everyone. I love being here in Manomet. I love the people that come in and help support us, and it's been a dream of mine for a long time. I think that Plymouth is a wonderful place. There's so many people with dogs and cats that love animals, that help each other, whether they're helping to find a lost dog or find a lost cat, or helping to save a dog or cat, or just supporting other rescues. I think it's a very genuine and loving community when it comes to the animals. So I'm very fortunate to be here.
She's just staying so silly.
After interviewing for the job of Director of Elder Affairs at the Kingston Council on Aging several months ago and then getting the position, Paula Rossi-Clabb made time for another interview, one with PCN. She's been on the job now for a couple of months and is starting to feel right at home.
Being a part of the baby boom population, it really drew me to this the senior issues that we're dealing with as the population grows. I went back and started a second career and went back to college, and this was what drew me. Being back into the area where I raised my kids, I'm familiar with the population. I'm actually here at a center where I know a lot of people, and I was very excited when they chose me to represent the town of Kingston. I think in the interview, I just felt like I was back home. It was probably in my life the most comfortable interview that I've ever had, and there were 4 people that I interviewed with. So it was very relaxing. The conversation flowed easily. We were just basically sitting there and just chatting with each other, and I'm happy to say that I asked them afterwards, did I show a side of me now that they didn't see in the interview? And apparently I'm the same person that they interviewed. So that's encouraging to me, because I really do want to invest myself in this place, and I think they've invested in me. This place is so busy, it's crazy at times. You came here on a Thursday, we have a special chef, Joyce, who makes the meals, and it's so popular, sometimes we can't accommodate people. And she just does everything from the appetizer on up to the main course and dessert. It's just well received here that I think we're going to have to expand the program. There's so many other options here for people. Exercise is a big draw to this place. I love the population here. I love the people that come. I really don't think of them as seniors. I think of them as family. This place is always, what I want to create is an atmosphere of a second home, or you're just going to visit a relative, or because we really all do enjoy each other here, and there are pockets of friends, but they end up meeting new people, and then they find that they know people that they didn't know were here. It's just really a wonderful place, friendly people, and everybody's usually laughing or telling a joke, which is what I really like, because I like humor.
Very nice story. She's got her big shoes to fill. Tammy Murray was there before for a long time, who did a great job, and looks like she's going to step right into it.
It's funny, we worked with Tammy for so many years that it was a little different to see somebody new there, but this lady jumped right in, and what a great personality. She was so fun and so easy to work with, and to see her out there just mingling with the people that come in there every day, you can tell they really love her,
right? And
she loves being there, so it's a win-win for everybody there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Good for them. A local Kingston Martial Arts Academy took home some major trophies in 2017 with their martial arts competition team winning the National Crane Championship in their respective divisions. We spoke with the Academy's owner and sensei during one of their training sessions to find out what kind of work these young athletes put into to become champions, and to find out what's next for 2018.
In 2017, some of the students competed in tournaments on a sport karate circuit called NASCA, and they did very well. Not only did we have black belts that placed really well at regional and international tournaments, but also some underbelts. And these kids are amazing. They train, I would say, on average, probably 5-6 hours a week. in the academy, going over their forms, repping their specific weapons and kicks. My black belt club kids, which is the demo team, the tournament team, which is classes being held tonight, you're going to see them do extreme forms, extreme weapons, sword, nunchaku, and bow staff. The first thing which truly amazes me is that when they go up to the judges, they actually have to introduce themselves. So we teach the kids how to make eye contact, how to stand with their chest up and chin up in a confident posture, say their name and where they're from, and that happens before they even start their form. And that takes a lot of guts, as you can imagine. So they go up in front of these 3 judges, they have to introduce themselves, say where they're from, who they are, and then they have to walk back and start their form. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that helps build their confidence. And then, yes, they have to do a choreographed series of movements that they work on week after week, day after day. Self-defense is just one component of martial arts training. I would say goal setting and respect, confidence building are 2-3 of the other components that we see the growth happen in students when they start, especially when they start at a young age, because let's say they come in and they struggle with a certain skill, and we teach them to have that no-quit attitude and continue to persevere in order to accomplish that skill. What I'm looking for the students to do in 2018 is work on those key moves or those key tricks that maybe were giving them trouble in 2017, and tweak those up a little bit, own it and make it theirs so that in 2018 they can place even better.
It's National Blood Donor Month. BID talks to us about the importance and the constant need for blood donations.
Hi, I'm Joanne Thibodeau with PCN's Doctor's Orders. Donating blood saves lives. When you're in an accident, when you go to the OR, when you have a disease state, it will prolong and save your life. It's very important. We get our blood from the American Red Cross, and we get platelets every day. Platelets is a product that expires like in 5 days, so it's very important to have that available routinely. We get red cells that expire in like a month, so that's very important to have fresh blood for everybody, so it's restocked all the time. It's very important to donate blood all year round because the blood products do not survive. The oxygen inside the bag is needed for the patients, and so it saves lives, and we really need it. The Red Cross has January as a donor month to make it aware that people need to donate, and it's very easy to donate. All you have to do is make an appointment. 1-800-GIVE-LIFE is their phone number. We have a blood drive every month, once a month, the first Friday of the month, I believe. And all you have to do is make the appointment through the Red Cross again, and they will tell you what time to come in, and that's it.
We are very pleased tonight to have on set Julie McGoff. Julie is an HR professional, and she has her own company, Next Step HR Strategies, which is a consulting company for HR.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. So today we're going to talk about a lot about HR, but mostly about harassment. But before we talk about harassment, because it's so prevalent in the news today, let's talk about what an HR function is in any company, whether you have 2 employees or 2,000 employees.
Right. So essentially, an HR presence their role is to sort of be a liaison between the company and the employee.
Okay. So they're really HRs for both. It's to protect the employees and it's to protect the company.
Absolutely.
And in HR department, we do things like benefits.
Employee benefits.
Which would include
long-term disability, short-term disability, health, dental, vision,
medical,
employee assistance programs.
Yep, if they're offered. Yep. Employee manuals or employee
handbooks.
Handbooks, right?
Yes. Policies, procedures.
Right, which
establishing
change
guidelines.
based on rules and laws also.
Absolutely.
Correct? Like sick leave and pregnancy leave and family leave.
That's correct.
When the laws change, even no matter how big your company is, you kind of have to be aware of the fact that that might affect you and how you're
Absolutely.
working with your employees.
Yes.
Okay. Performance management, right?
Definitely, that's something that should be done on an annual basis, where employees are given feedback in terms of how they're doing, how they're performing.
Right. And they have objectives, and have they met their objectives?
Measurable goals.
Measurable goals, right. Recruiting, so HR is used for, if you have to hire a whole bunch of people, it's used for recruiting, it's used for hiring, it's used for terminating.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So an HR function is very important in any organization, especially today with the subject of harassment.
That's correct.
Now, harassment is defined as aggressive, pressure, or intimidation. And harassment doesn't necessarily just have to be sexual harassment.
Right.
It can be any kind of harassment. Give me
Any
some
form
examples.
of intimidation, swearing, conflict in the workplace, anything that just is unwelcome or intimidating.
Right.
Uncomfortable.
And sometimes employees that have worked together a long time, they tend to have a friendly banter. There tends to be kind of a groove in every different organization where you have a different way of handling things. And unless an employee says, that bothers me, the company might not know that that someone is actually harassing another person within the organization. Is that true?
Yes. So, to your point earlier when we were speaking, if you call somebody, honey, right?
Yep.
That's fine until someone says it's not.
Right. Until they say, I don't like you calling me honey.
Right. And
okay.
then and I think it's important for the employees to have a voice as well.
Right. Exactly. Now, what about how do you set the standards, though, for what is harassment like? Can I say, well, I've worked here longer, so I'm going to take all the really good shifts this week, and somebody else has to have the bad shifts?
Well,
is that harassment?
That's really up to management to decide, how the shifts get distributed and scheduling, how schedulings, are provided and done. So,
yep.
I don't think that there would be that kind of, freedom to make those.
Okay. Telling jokes that are like off color, or they have to do with your lineage, all those things could be considered harassment.
Absolutely, and unprofessional. Right?
If the person doesn't like them.
There should be a standard. There should
Okay.
be a standard
Right.
that's upheld throughout
Right.
the organization.
Right.
That's
Now,
your culture.
what if your boss is the one that's like not following the proper procedures of harassment? What do you do?
Yeah, that would be an appropriate time to bring HR into the know. Absolutely.
What if your boss is HR?
Well, HR will typically have a boss as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you as an employee can always go to outside sources also. The state of Massachusetts, I know, has an employment protection agency.
Yes.
If you need to file a complaint or you don't know where to go, there's other resources that you can
There
use.
are other resources available, but you should definitely start within your organization.
Right. Whenever possible. Okay. So let's talk about sexual harassment and harassment awareness. What is harassment awareness training?
So essentially, employees don't show up necessarily on the job site, trained, and they don't necessarily understand the difference between what's acceptable and unacceptable behavior in the workplace, right?
Right.
So when you train them, you give them specific examples, and then there's sort of a protocol to follow.
Right. So they have to understand that you've defined a policy of this is harassment, and this is not going to be put up with. And people have to sign off that they've heard it and they agree it.
Right. It's a good idea to distribute those policies on an annual basis. I think it's a very proactive approach in this environment to, bring somebody in from the outside to conduct these types of training, unless you have, HR training within your own organizations in existence.
Right.
But yes, distribute those policies on an annual basis, and then have, folks acknowledge that they attended the training as well. Yeah.
Now, a lot of companies they're not big enough to have their own HR department. So it's professionals like you that own companies that kind of consult. So you'd go into a company and you'd take a look at their policies and their procedures and how they're handling harassment training, and you'd give them advice on how to do it.
Right, and we would make recommendations. We would typically, schedule 2 trainings, one for management and supervisors,
Yep.
and another for the employees.
And what is the danger if a company doesn't do harassment training?
Again, just because you can't assume that folks know what's appropriate and what's inappropriate, right? So I just think it's a very proactive approach to mitigate risk.
Okay. there's, because of all the things that have been in the news lately about sexual harassment, and the really horrific stories that we've heard about, like in Hollywood, about people having to do
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo, right. You do something for me sexually and you'll get a party, you'll get an advancement. That's obviously an extreme.
Right.
But does that happen in every company otherwise? I mean, is there less extreme?
No, I mean, I've definitely, you see the there's definitely, a wide array of exposure and experiences from organizations, and it varies. But I think the common theme is that, there needs to be a no tolerance policy for anything of that nature.
Right, absolutely none.
Absolutely none.
Right. Okay, the tolerance is absolutely zero. So, final advice that you would give to both employees and employers about harassment?
I think it's very important for the employees to have a voice and to be empowered to say and to speak up for themselves, and that is something that I would certainly encourage. Depending on the nature of the allegation.
Right. Right.
I mean, if it's something as you're calling me honey and
Yeah.
I don't like it. I mean, I would encourage you to say that. I mean,
Right.
you and whether it's a male or a female,
Right.
I mean, you should be
able to speak
empowered
up.
to speak
Right,
up.
right.
Absolutely.
And employers should just be aware that this is a subject that they need to be constantly aware of. That
Correct.
you can't just, this doesn't not exist. This does exist. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, it doesn't matter how many people you have. Harassment exists, and it's an important subject, and it's a very serious subject.
It's a very serious subject, right? I mean, your employees or your people are your greatest asset, right?
Right.
And you want to foster and develop and promote and encourage an environment that's free from that.
Right.
It's professional
And safe.
and safe
And honest.
and
Yep.
honest and
open.
right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
That's
so
very
much.
good
Thanks
advice.
for having me.
And thank you for watching. If you want to see the show again, you can check out our website, and PCN is also on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook to get up-to-date info. Stay tuned. PCN Life is up next.